Neil, is Tesla overvalued?
If we look at VinFast today, no.
What is going on with that stock, bro?
VinFast.
How much is it up today?
Yeah, what, another 30 or 20, 30%? It's
Where is
crazy.
this company located again, Neil?
Vietnam.
Vietnam.
I thought they couldn't sell. I thought
yeah,
their car
I saw that.
reviews were a total junk. Why are they going up?
Well, ask yourself why. Ask yourself how Nikola at some point had a $70 billion valuation. You know,
Over 100 billion, I think.
I think what happens is people want to feel like they're getting the next Tesla, but they don't realize that Tesla can and will ship cars to Vietnam. So people are just trying to find the next Tesla, and
but
Rivian they're realizing that Tesla is the next Tesla.
Rivian, when the IPO was the same thing. They also went up.
Was it
Like
100 billion?
crazy? Yeah.
So
Neil, let me ask
one
you.
of
Tata Motors. Remember that one?
No, I was going to say one of the things that I'm seriously considering right now is I haven't done a lot of DD on it, but I'm going to do more. Is around Rivian. I'm seeing a shit ton of Rivians all over the place, and Rivian, based on its cash flow and its big daddy Amazon being a large, like what's the word? Large. Basically, I forgot the term. I'm blanking right now. Maybe I need to follow AMIT so I can get more word of the days from him. But basically, Amazon being a partner helps Rivian significantly and basically holds their business up while they're going through their operational changes. So usually what happens with businesses is that when they first start up, the cost of each individual unit is so high that they make a loss per individual unit. But as they scale, unit economics kicks in and the price of the car ends up going relatively the same or coming down, but the profit margins go up. So you have one factory that's building like crazy that now you're going to see improving margins, and Rivian being valued at where it is right now make actually some sense in being an investor right now, considering that they are.
Can you share this, Amit? Can you share this?
Yeah.
I think they're still
like
a 20 billion market cap,
I found this
right?
on the web for considering that they are the number. Check it out.
Shut up, Siri.
I mean, but still, Rivian. This is right. As of February 2023, Rivian is selling a vehicle for $81,000, but spending $220,000. They're losing $139,000 per truck.
Wow.
They're losing more than the cost of another truck per truck.
Well, that's what happens.
Saying. It's less than it
no,
was
no, but
before.
that's what happens. But Carlos, based on the data that you just saw, right? That's like the cost of building the factory. That's like the cost of hiring the workers. That's like the cost of getting site planning done for another factory. Like all of these things over time, they eventually will recover. This is the same argument that was made against Tesla in its early years. These guys will never make money.
Yeah, but
Look
Tesla
at
never
the
spent
cost of
100,000 more per car.
Tesla never spent
Yeah, but
that
that
much.
was 2000. That was 2011. That was
I'm
a
just
way
saying they
different
never
scenario.
did that.
Yeah.
It just never happened that way. They didn't do that. They were very cautious with money.
I don't know. I would say we need to, well, yeah, you're right. Elon was definitely a lot more careful. He did take over the Toomey factory in California. So he got like a really cheap deal for it. So yeah, I mean, in terms of pricing efficiency, Tesla definitely had a leg up because they had a person who was very like cost conscious. The thing is though, with someone like with Rivian, they have a tremendous partner in Amazon being able to float their losses until the profitability comes in. So yeah, I think that right now they definitely are spending a lot of money, but they're also growing really fast as well. You know?
Well, they sold 24,000 vehicles. The real metric is to see how much less money they're losing now quarter over quarter, because that'll give you an idea of when they could actually become profitable. That I can't seem to find that statistic. But I mean, I know that they tripled EV production and deliveries in Q2 2023. So it's a matter of what is the rate, how fast is that rate of loss declining for them. But the other thing is the Amazon thing is it's good. I actually would want to see that. I actually think that a good play for Rivian would just to become the commercial vehicle maker, right? To have their trucks be essentially the commercial vehicle truck that all companies use, whether it be for like mobile service or for last mile delivery. I think that would make a lot more sense, and they would probably become more profitable because they're selling them commercially and they're selling fleets versus trying to sell these individual vehicles to customers. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be a part of their business, but It's like the Jeep Wrangler. I love that vehicle, but it's not a big part of their bottom line. It's just a niche product that has a very loyal fan base, and they can guarantee those sales per year. But it's not going to be a massive change to the bottom line. I'm just not sure. We'll see. I mean, Rivian, they have basically that one vehicle or two vehicles. If they ever expand into,
They have 3. They have the van too, but that's for Amazon.
Right, it's for Amazon. So, okay, they've got 3 vehicles, which is not bad. I mean, Tesla only has 4 vehicles right now, unless you count Cybertruck, which is 5. So, so we'll see. And the other thing to take into account too, Chris, is they're selling a bunch of vehicles right now, but aside from the F-150, there's really no other player. We've really got to see what happens 2 or 3 quarters after Cybertrucks are out on the road. If people are actually choosing that vehicle over it, we have to see the comparisons to those, see how the market responds. So,
I mean, I don't know, Carlos.
I don't know.
I mean, in terms of Cybertruck, that's a very specific vehicle for a very specific audience. I don't know if you want a Rivian, you're not waiting for a Cybertruck, you know?
But if you want a Rivian, you can buy an F-150 right now. They're more traditional looking trucks, you're sure, but we just don't know what
but
the
the
actual
Rivian
impact.
is sexier. Let's put it.
It's a beautiful. Listen, it's a beautiful
Yes.
truck. I've seen them in person. They are absolutely beautiful, but you just have to see what the customers are going to decide. We can think whatever we want to think. We have to see what customers decide, because although like it's a beautiful truck, but man, when you start looking at all the options, like just recently, Ford released that all matte black F-150 at a ridiculous price. It's basically a wrap. They're just wrapping them in the factory with this nice
for $100K.
for $100,000. Well, that's what the Cybertruck basically is a blank slate. So when you start looking at the ways that third-party people will be able to customize that truck with different types of wraps and accessories, they could very well turn it into the type of like pretty truck that you're talking about Rivian being. So we just have to see what happens. We're so close to seeing.
So Carlos, this is their revenues right now. They're growing about 34% year over year, which is really good if you think about it.
So what's the operating loss?
Well, that's the thing. It's pretty high still to this day, because they're spending so much on capex. That's one of the major problems right now with their revenue. Let's say right now with 3 billion in revenue TTM, their selling and general costs right now are 1.5, which is pretty much stabilized. So you can see here, they're not really spending too much money on administrative costs. Research and development, they're spending about a 1.6 billion, but that's trending downward as well.
Can you make it a little bit bigger? Make it a little bigger.
Yeah. Sorry.
Could you zoom in a little bit? It's a little better. Okay.
Yeah. Let me just move it over. So you can see here from an operating income point, they're growing in the right direction compared to last year. So let's just take a breakdown. Okay. In the last year, because of TTM, that's what you're supposed to look at. 12 months trailing. Gross profit, they generate a negative $2.3 billion in gross profit. They're early company. This is something that happens. This is what I'm actually really kind of upbeat on. Their operating expenses, they're trending down. Like selling and administration costs are down, but the revenue is up. R&D is down, but revenue is up. Depreciation, of course, is going to grow over time as they have more things like a factory and stuff that they can depreciate. So operating income is technically improving. I mean, not improving significantly, but it's improving. Let's just take it on a quarterly basis and see what it is. Their revenue growth last year in September was 47%. So they have uneven growth years where usually every 6 months
cyclical.
They have
that's cyclical. Like Q1 is typically terrible for auto sales. So that's going to be normal.
Supply chain issues.
Supply chain. It's just seasonal business, sort of.
But from an operating expenses point, they're reducing down OPEX pretty significantly, which means that their operating income is probably growing in that same regard. How
much debt do they have? How much debt do they have in cash on the books? I'm just curious.
I don't think they have any debt.
They just have whatever, 5 or 6 billion. I read somewhere, maybe it was last quarter.
Debt.
They had 7 quarters of money in the bank, I think it was.
Right now, they have in cash, they have 9.2 billion in cash, or cash equivalents. They probably have a shit ton of money in treasuries right now based on, short-term investments. We've got $1 billion short-term investment. These are like treasuries probably. Receivables is not too much. Inventory, $2 billion in inventory. Plant property. So this is a lot of where their CapEx is going. So the plant property is growing. Long-term assets is down. So total assets is about 17.2 billion. Liabilities, they have no short-term debt. Long-term debt, they have 2.7 billion in long-term debt.
That's pretty good.
That's probably from
Neil. Would you consider buying Rivian at all? or do you just buy more Tesla?
So I'll answer and I'll add a bit more info. No, I don't want to buy Rivian, even though I do think it's going to be extremely successful. They picked their niche, let's call it, with trucks extremely. It's very smart.
Yeah.
Very attractive vehicles. The tech is there as well, which is going to be extremely important. You're buying basically EVs now for the tech, not for the wheels, in my opinion. So here are the numbers from. I'll read it out. Last year, per unit losses were as high as 157,000. First quarter of this year, 67,000, and then the last quarter, 32,500. So major improvements. Yeah, major improvements. And with the vans, it was previously just exclusive to Amazon, but I think Amazon also realizes that it makes more sense to open it up so they can basically sell it to others as well. Since Amazon is a big investor in Rivian, they want to see that company succeed as well. So the van success story, I think, will be pretty big as well as they open that up.
Displace the sprinters, those Mercedes sprinters that you see everywhere, even overseas in Europe, you see a lot of those. That's basically like the last mile delivery vehicle. They'll sell a fuck ton of them, and since you're selling fleet, it's usually more than one set.
Yeah, so but the fleeting will happen maybe in the future, because right now doesn't make much sense because they don't produce that many trucks today to deliver to individual people. So offering fleets won't make much sense right now.
But let's end it on a fun one. When do you think FSD actually is coming? Because Carlos thinks it's tomorrow. Vitaly thinks it's 2 years from now.
Just to be clear, I don't think it's tomorrow. But what you saw, that demo that Elon did, is I cannot understate enough how important of a shift that is. It's a neural net trained just with video. Like, they're not programming.
That's a big deal.
I just want to point out, it's the Kathy Wood thing. Every 5 years, it's going to be here.
So Neil, are you on the side of Carlos where you think it's sooner than later, or Vitaly where you think it's later than sooner?
I mean, with all the promises that have been made by Elon over the years, I'll be a show me before I make some conclusions. But that live stream was pretty remarkable when he said that. I know it was around the roundabout, something like that. Mm-hmm. It was not written by code. It was basically nothing but net neural net training, train it by video. Maybe they're reaching the point where they might have solved it. I'm not saying they solved it right now, because I don't know, remains to be seen. But it's going to take a while until this gets released into the wild, into the United States, in Europe. There's some regulatory issues that are probably going to arise. NHTSA, whatever, some headlines, or FSD killed the cat, or I don't know. So some stuff like that. So
I mean, all they really, the point that they've reached now is that all they really need to do to train the software is just give it videos of people driving perfectly. That's it. Just continue to feed it videos of it driving perfectly, and it will know what to do, within reason in most situations. And so FSD should improve dramatically from this point forward, because they've been building the tech to get to this point. Also, I think today, I don't even know if we have the news about it, that new 10,000 GPU NVIDIA GPU cluster goes online, and their previous one was 5,000. So the training should get a lot faster. And I want to make a distinction between FSD becoming a thing and a robotaxi network becoming a thing. I think that they'll solve FSD, but it's still going to take them a while to be able to build out, say, a robotaxi network. But I still believe that by, 2023, I still believe that by some point next year, maybe towards the end of next year, we will see Tesla start rolling out the first pilot programs of these. And they won't be all over the country. It'll probably be in a major hub like Vegas, maybe going from hotel to hotel. Because they do have, or San Francisco. But the reason why I think Vegas is because the Boring Company is already there, right? And they have those cars already doing trips for people, and they're expanding that. So I think legislatively with them, that might be a place to start. Or maybe it's simultaneously San Francisco, Vegas, maybe somewhere other place in California like LA, and just to prove the model, right? And really just keep it small so that they can work out the kinks before rolling it out to different cities. That's what I think. So there's a difference between FSD and robotaxi.
Yeah, so you mean basically leaving FSD beta to just FSD release? Yeah. Okay, I could agree with that. There's also going to be a gap of 6 months between hardware 3 and hardware 4.
That's what he said. Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
The other problem that has to be solved is I don't know, is hardware 4 now needed for the current FSD? Because
no.
It's not needed. That they're optimizing it for hardware 3 now because that's what most of the cars have, and then I guess they're going to do like it's like when you upscale it, right? They'll upscale it to the new software because I think some of the hardware 3 still has.
But hardware 3 is only the last couple of years, so every car before that is screwed. They're hosed. Everyone who bought FSD 3 years ago, it's hosed.
I don't know how that'll work. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work because at the end of the day, if they have the video cameras, I don't know. That's interesting. I mean, he was talking some stuff about like frame rate.
Transfer. You can transfer.
Well, he
now.
has
You have
buy a new
one-time-
car, buy a new car, and we'll
Something like
transfer you for free, whatever.
I
but
think if they do that, they're gonna experience a massive litigation if they do that because there's
Well,
people
that's what he's
that
doing.
bought it
That's what he's
with
doing.
previous hardware expecting it to one day be turned on.
It's
if
kind of
their
messed up.
vehicle-
Yeah.
But if their vehicle can't
Yes.
physically do it,
Yeah.
then it's a problem. I think that'll be a major problem, like
if you-
litigation wise, and
If you bought it a long time ago, you probably didn't pay 15,000 for FSD.
5,000, right?
Yeah, so it's already a $10,000 discount, which I don't know. Maybe if you want to buy a new car right now with the credits, with this and that, it's not going to cost you that much.
Well,
but
that's
it's an issue, yeah, that you were promised something, it wasn't delivered.
That'd be a question for Rango. He's in the chat actually. How would that work, Rango? If hardware, if the only hardware that can run it is hardware 3 and above, how does that work with older Teslas that have grandfathered in prices on FSD? Would they have to upsell them a new vehicle, or will they find a way of making it work on older hardware? It's an interesting question.
Okay.
All right, cool. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Just a side
pleasure.
question before we go. Just a side question. How many total positions do you have in your portfolio?
So I have the main portfolio, which I think is 15, 16 positions, with lots of smaller ones, 2 to 3% or so. And then I have now a small dividend paying portfolio, which I'm trying to build up for my older self.